Let's see what I'm craving today. Yeah, that looks pretty tasty. Hello everyone, my name is Borax, and I've been on a mission to play and rate every single champion in the support role. Today we'll be looking at Lissandra, and the reasons I think she could work include a passive which turns vanquished foes into ghosts that follow enemies, some Q poke that also slows, an AoE root on W, a long range blink on her E, and finally she has her ultimate which lets her either put herself in stasis preventing damage, or it can be used as a point and click stun that also slows all nearby targets. It's a good amount of utility, but is it enough to make her viable? Well, let's find out together as I rate Lissandra, the Ice Witch, on her ability to be played in the support role. Invading as Lissandra is decent. If you flash W on top of someone, they can't juke it, so if they don't respond with flash, they will be CC'd. You can also try and do that to multiple enemies, but you do want to be a bit careful, as if your team doesn't follow up, it can turn into a disaster play, as the root is nice, but it isn't the longest CC early on. The reason I know this is because it happened to my team, but I lost the footage, so thankfully we can't watch that pain together. But for invading, I will give Lissandra an A rating. When it comes to countering invades, Lissandra is such a big threat, but having to use your flash to force a play prevents me from raising it up. Now let's talk about laning, where I like to judge a champion based on 3 categories: poking, peeling, and all-inning. Lissandra is in theory a mage, so she should be good at poking, right? Well, I thought she would be, but it's really underwhelming. Your best poking ability, Q, is so low range and deals around 1.5 times that of a basic attack worth of damage on its own, and I found it to be generally not super worth it, unless of course the enemies are inviting you to hit them. But for poking, I will give Lissandra a B- rating. She is still ranged, which means it is somewhat passable, and you can use your slows and CC to help your ADC get more autos off, which will be your best bet to harass in lane. When it comes to peeling, Lissandra is quite decent in the support role. If the enemies try to go on top of you and your ADC, you can just root them all with W and then escape with E. Braum trying to obviously bait you in by dancing? No worries, even if Akshan tries his best to cut you off, he can't catch up as your E makes you so safe. But if your ADC is getting caught out of position, you can use that E to instead catch up to them, so you can provide the CC they need to get away, which might mean you have to die for their sins, but it will usually be worth it. For peeling, I will give Lissandra a S- in lane. Her biggest weakness is the fact that her E is on a 24-second cooldown level 1, and your W is on a 14-second cooldown level 1, so there will be opportunities for the enemy to punish you if you misuse your abilities. Although, when you hit level 6, you have your best peeling tool, your ultimate. You can pick one target that just doesn't get to play anymore for a bit, giving you easy kills and clear paths to escape. All-inning with your ultimate has always been the strength of Lissandra, but what about pre-level 6? Well, turns out it isn't too bad from what I've found. Is that squishy caster minion, Sona, trying to poke you? Just go in with EW and blow her up instantly. Your engage range is crazy long, and you don't need to worry about minions blocking it. If you do trade 1 for 1, it's also not bad because then your passive will kick in and help the play end up being a 2 for 1. This long range engage is so good at following up the craziest ganks you've ever seen that normally wouldn't work. Now I need to bring this up. I think Lissandra as a support might be a legitimate secret counter to Zeri and Kalista. Tired of never being able to hit them with an ability? Well, with your ultimate you don't need any skill, and you can just cherish watching them press ultimate and then never ever moving again. AoE CC is pretty rare on a basic ability, and Lissandra's EW combo shows just how strong it is and why it's usually reserved for ultimates. The biggest downside once again are the long cooldowns you have, so if you don't blow them up, there is a risk that you might die instead, but that's where your aftershock comes in, letting you be really tanky in that instance, giving your ADC time to kill them before you die. Lissandra is also one of the best tower divers post level 6. People usually try to dance around the tower, but Lissandra doesn't care about that one bit because you don't need to aim any of your CC, and once you have your ultimate ability, you can just ult yourself to switch tower aggro and save you from death. I also always ran perfect timing, which only made my dive potential even more deadly. Even though this might be controversial, I'm going to give Lissandra a S+ for all-inning in lane. I've been talking about all the different things you can do, and I haven't even mentioned that your level 2 all-in is so strong because of that range advantage and ability to ignore minions, and you even have this amazing all-in angle from behind your tower, which will completely catch people off guard. I don't think I ever lost to lane as Lissandra, and it's not like I was smurfing. I was playing this champion in solo duo at Plat 4, and I mean sure it's not high elo, but I am beating people on a champion I don't even have Mastery 3 on, and I just picked up, and it didn't feel like a challenge really. Now that I've talked up Lissandra's laning ability quite a lot, let's talk about her matchups, and there are definitely some tricky ones. If you follow this channel, then you know that I disdain Morgana and would say that she is the League of Legends equivalent of finding seeds in your seedless grapes. Morgana is indeed a tricky opponent, as her spell shield prevents you from using your ultimate on a vital target, and without your ulti, the power of Lissandra definitely goes down a lot. Other champions that will be a major pain include Nautilus, Leona, and Alistar, who all have a ton of CC on much lower of a cooldown than yours. Alistar is tricky, as he can just knock you into tower if you go in. Then, Lissandra struggles a good amount against champions with long-range poke, as they can stay away from your E and will be able to run away if they see it coming in. Lissandra also has no sustain, which makes the poke very annoying. Senna has that poke, but she can be engaged on more easily, but if someone is sitting in her shroud, then you can't target them with your ultimate, which really sucks. There are a bunch of champions in the skill/stalemate lane. Brand, Zyra, Lux, and Karma are all champions with a ton of annoying poke, but if they misstep you can kill them, and they are very vulnerable to ganks. But if you are playing weak side, it will be no fun. Then, Lulu and Zilean are good at keeping one person alive, which will negate the power of your ultimate, and then there are the tankier enchanter adjacent champions who can shrug off your engage and might be able to beat you up, but that's only if you misplay. Next up we have champions that Lissandra can do quite well into. If Blitzcrank, Pyke, or Thresh land a hook, you can stun them with your W and then get out with E. Lissandra is a decent counter to Thresh Lantern, as people can't click it if you ulti them, and then you can put a pink ward on top of said lantern. Then we have a bunch of enchanters that don't have the poke to battle you, and if you ulti their carry, they kind of just stand there awkwardly as you and your ADC kill them. Or, you can just kill the support instead, and then have their ghost help you kill their ADC. Then some champions I think Lissandra can dominate includes another Lissandra of course, as hopefully they are trolling playing something off meta. But something that has been annoyingly meta has been Zeri, and while Nautilus has been one counter because of his point and click ulti, maybe he is banned in that game, and then you can whip out the Lissandra to do the exact same thing. Yuumi and Sona belong here because you can neutralize the person Yuumi is buffing with your ulti, and Sona is just made out of glass, which is why most things beat her at the moment. Finally, we have a bunch of champions in the who plays these guys even tier, so I haven't seen them in so long, but spoilers, I have been playing a ton of Galio recently. Now let's talk about ADCs that you want to pair Lissandra's support with, and honestly, there's so many decent combos. Lissandra is a great champion to CC people for long periods of time that any ADC that can follow up will be a decent pairing. But ones I will especially shout out are Jinx, Jhin, and Caitlyn, as you set up their follow-up CC so easily, and they are strong laners which can help mitigate your weakness of having long cooldowns. Then I think champions like Kai'Sa, Tristana, Lucian, Kalista, and Draven deserve a shout out. They are champions that usually want someone around them to do something in order for them to blow a person up, and Lissandra is happy to set that up for them. In the hypothetical case that your ADC is a useless bonobo, then you might want to consider roaming from time to time. When Lissandra is played as a mid laner, she frequently wants to look for opportunities to roam as she provides the CC her team needs to deal their damage, and Lissandra's support is no different. People seem to think that flashing away will save them, but you can just follow them with your E and continuously slow and CC them till they die. You also have the unique ability to go over walls to really surprise enemies, and if you have ulti up, that's usually just too much CC for anyone to survive through. For roaming, I will give Lissandra's support a S+. Normally when you are roaming, you will have a man advantage and all you need is CC to make sure you secure the kill. But a special perk you will have is all that AoE CC, which isn't too difficult to land and makes roaming on her so rewarding. Let's give Lissandra an overall rating for her ability to support in the early game, which will slot at a S-. For cooldowns were any lower, or if she had any natural tankiness, I'd easily be bumping her up to a S+. I mean, she has CC on every part of her kit outside of E, so the fact that Lissandra isn't being utilized in the support role actually perplexes me. I will admit the laning phase is a bit difficult because of your lack of poke, but if your team decides to play bot lane strong side, there really isn't much enemies can do against your all-in, and then you can turn that lead into a nice smooth transition into the
I will bury the world in ice.
In the late game, responsibilities of a support I like to rate include their ability to get picks and to teamfight. Now I actually devised this formula for getting picks as Lissandra's support. Does the enemy have their dash ability and flash up to reach their tower? Yes? Okay, that means they are dead if someone else can help you CC them a little bit, because if you get your ulti on top of them and follow up with your W after it ends, they just die. But oftentimes your W will be enough. Oh hey random Gwen that beat me as Gwen support when I was playing Italy. Time for me to get my revenge. One of the major benefits of playing Lissandra's support is your ability to rush Azania's first item, as you aren't responsible for dealing damage but rather getting CC off. This lets you tower dive pretty comfortably, as right before you die you can just go into stasis instead. For getting picks, I will give Lissandra's support a S+ rating. As long as one damage dealer is nearby, there's not much someone can do to get out of the CC chain, which is Lissandra ult followed up by Lissandra W. Now let's talk about teamfighting, where support's responsibilities include engaging, peeling, and sometimes dealing damage. The best engages out there are those that CC multiple enemies or CC the most important member, and guess what, Lissandra can do both. Use your E to move towards that carry, then your ulti has the range you need to point and click CC the carry, and if anyone can follow up that engage, then the entire teamfight is won just like that. And while you are going for that engage, usually people will try to stop you, so you get to CC them as well with your W, and you can Zhonya's to survive as your team takes care of the rest of the fight. Again, your engage range is so crazy. With E and flash up, the enemy can't be anywhere nearby, or else you will CC them unless they have QSS. The biggest issue is the fact that you have to go in really hard to engage and won't have a clear path of escape, so if your team can't follow up your engage, you will just look like a dirty inter. Still, Lissandra deserves a S+ from me for engaging. It's a less tanky version of a Leona or Alistar, but it's more point and clicky, which makes it a lot more foolproof as long as you can gap close properly. The beauty of many champions who are great at engaging is that usually you are also pretty good at peeling, and Lissandra is indeed decent. Is the enemy damage dealer jumping onto your carries? Well, I hope they don't like playing the game for 1.5 seconds and then not moving for a further 1.5 seconds when you throw in your W. Oh, I should also mention that everyone else that is trying to come in to help them will be greatly hindered as your ulti provides a zone that slows enemies by 50% at level 11 and 75% at max rank, which is no joke. You can also self-peel by either just leaving the play with E, using Zhonya's, or ulting yourself if things get dire. For peeling, Lissandra deserves another S. You will be saving your teammates so often with clutch ultimates as long as you are paying attention. League of Legends is really all about kill or be killed, and if you are CCing someone for a long period of time, I think I know which outcome they will receive. While Lissandra is a mage and probably has some builds that would let her do damage, I don't think that should be a priority for her. With a tankier build, your damage will come from your ability to use multiple spells in a fight, but if someone is walking up like an idiot while being low, you can kill them yourself if you get a full combo off. You also have a crazy amount of AoE with all your spells and your ghosts that will be spawning, which do provide a nice oomph of damage. I will give Lissandra an A-. You do enough damage to hold your own, like if someone tries to tower dive you, but it's not enough to go looking for kills on your own. Before we look at Lissandra's overall ability to support, let's take a look at the runes and items that I would recommend. The most consistent rune I enjoyed was Aftershock, as you can easily proc it with your W, and it helps ensure you don't get one shot in return. For the rest of the tree, I took Fawn of Life, Second Wind, and Unflinching. Then secondarily, I took Perfect Timing, as Zhonya's is so good on Lissandra, and Biscuit Delivery to help you sustain in aggressive lanes, which is the only lane I like to play usually. The other rune page that I tried out that I do believe has merit is Glacial Augment, as it helps better your engage and peel, but it is more of a greedy pick, which I'd only recommend in matchups that you believe are easy peasy, and you want to kill them over and over again. Now let's talk about items. For your gold income item, you should take Spelthy's Edge if you think you can poke super easily, but more often than not I took Relic Shield to help secure level 2 first and guarantee you gold more safely. Then you want to go for your boots, and I think Merc Treads or Plated Steel Caps should be the go-to, as you want to reduce the chances you get one shot before you can press ult or Zhonya's. Then, every game I played, I actually ended up skipping my Mythic, and instead rushing a Zhonya's, as I think this item has the most broken active in the entire game. Lissandra's biggest downside is having to go in really hard in order to make plays, and usually that would mean trading 1 for 1, but with Zhonya's, that greatly increases your chance of surviving, and maybe even getting another rotation of your spells off. Then I would work on a Mythic, and I'd recommend going for further tankiness and picking up an Evan Shroud. You will easily proc the bonus damage for your allies with your CC, and you just want to reduce the chance you get one shot. Now the other more playmaking mythic would be Everfrost, as it only enhances your peeling and engaging, but I'd only recommend this option for people who are really comfortable with Lissandra, as being squishier leaves you less room for mistakes. But if you can root enemies while layering in all of your other CC, that seems quite potent. Another item I liked a lot was Anathema's Chains to put it on the target you want to be ulting the most, as will negate some of their tenacity, meaning the CC is more likely to stick. For the rest of your items, I'd recommend just going further down the tank path, but in most games you won't have any more gold to spend, especially if you are being diligent with buying pink wards. Now that we've talked about the runes and items, let's give Lissandra an overall rating for her ability to support, which will slot at a S rating. I was actually stunned at how effective it was, and while sure laning against the S+ supports might be hard, if you can survive, you just get a free Lissandra ult to shut down the fed carry on the enemy team. Would I recommend you play Lissandra support? Definitely, and I'm going to be picking it quite often actually. In many ranked games, there will be one person who is turbo fed, and you can single-handedly help keep your team in it if you just flash ult them at the right time with the rest of your team nearby. I don't think it's as consistent as a Leona, Not, or Thresh, but as someone who plays those champions a lot, I felt Lissandra was actually easier to pilot overall, especially with her ability to build Zhonya's and still be super useful. When should you pick it? I think Lissandra Support is a turbo pick if the enemy has champions that are usually hard to pick off, as your ulti is point and click. You also ideally want a team that can follow up on your long range CC. Champions like Akali, Yone, or Kai'Sa, for instance, synergize nicely because otherwise you will just go in and your team won't be able to do damage to that person that you CC'd. In team comps where your team just needs some kind of setup to blow people up on, then Lissandra is such a wonderful pick, and I can't wait to see how far she can carry me in ranked games. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and would leave it a like, that would be amazing. And if you'd consider subscribing, that would make my day. Again, thanks for watching, and I want to wish you good luck and have fun if you're playing Lissandra Support. You might need it.